Morning, people. Every single bit of this story about the Metropolitan Police handing in their guns as a sort of protest against one of their own being charged with the murder of Chris Kaba is dripping with hypocrisy. First off, their reasonings that they don't feel legally covered in their interactions with the public, with their spokesperson saying, "The Crown Prosecution Service bringing this charge signals a shift in the way the decisions they take in the most challenging circumstances will be judged." Sorry, there have been two high-profile cases of Metropolitan Police officers raping members of the public and being convicted for it. One of them actually murdered the victim. And since the murder of Sarah Everard, 16 Metropolitan Police officers have been convicted of crimes, including 12 for sexual offences. Meanwhile, the independent report came out and found that the Metropolitan Police is institutionally sexist, homophobic and racist, backed up by the fact that the government's own data shows that the police stop and search black people 7 times more than white people, with anecdotal evidence like the 13-year-old boy who was chased down and nearly tasered by police because he matched the description of black man on a bike, when in fact he was simply on a charity bike ride with his father. Or the Metropolitan Police officer who put his knee on a black man's neck just months after George Floyd. And now that one of them has been charged with the murder of a black man, they're telling us that they are the ones who feel unprotected in their interactions with the public. Can you imagine how we feel? Because the problem with the police disproportionately stopping and searching black people has been known for years, and yet the Metropolitan Police was recently still found to be institutionally racist, so they've chosen not to fix this problem. So people with this color of skin have had to walk around their entire lives knowing they're more likely to be targeted by the police and thrown into an unfair justice system, unfairness which is evidenced by the fact that the conviction rate for white people is higher than for black people, which means that black people are more likely to be charged with a crime when there isn't enough evidence to convict them. And black people have had to suck that up their entire lives, but when the Metropolitan Police gets a criminal charge, suddenly it's time to go on strike. Now, I'm not questioning their right to withdraw their labor because that's their democratic right, but if they're really the good guys of the story that they claim to be, then at least in their heads, by withdrawing their labor, by not working in this way, they're making the public less safe. Which means they're in favor of exercising their democratic right to protest, even if it puts the public at risk. But when women were holding an outdoor vigil during COVID for Sarah Everard after one of the Metropolitan Police officers murdered her, they were tackled to the damn ground. Again, the hypocrisy is off the charts. But sticking with the theme of democratically going on strike, that hypocrisy continues at the political level, because we know how the government has reacted to strikes in general. Nurses go on strike, government says no. Teachers go on strike, government says no. Doctors go on strike, government says no. Police put their guns down for one day, so while a brave man says, "We depend on our brave firearms officers to protect us from the most dangerous and violent in society." They mustn't fear ending up in the dock for carrying out their duties. Officers risking their lives to keep us safe have my full backing, and I will do everything in my power to support them. Every other area of the public sector has been crying out for the government to improve their working conditions for months, and the government has been telling them to go fuck themselves. But the one area of the public sector that maintains this government's authoritarian control, the moment they complain, it's all hands on deck. And if you think I'm being unfair with that comment, you remember what they said during the coronation? "Our tolerance for any disruption, whether through protest or otherwise, will be low. We will robustly deal with anyone intent on undermining the celebration." So the Metropolitan Police are fully dancing to the government's tune in terms of the suppression of UK society. And so now the government is scratching their back too. And the final hypocrisy is that this government, for months after we saw pictures of them partying during lockdown, refused to comment, saying they had to wait for Sue Gray to finish her investigation, saying it would be wrong for them to comment on an ongoing legal process. And now we have the Home Secretary, who happens to be a lawyer, taking sides in an active murder trial. So when the Tories' arses are on the line, "Oh, we couldn't possibly comment, we have to let justice take its course." But when a black man is shot dead, they back the people who shot him. And for the record, even Rishi Sunak knows that's wrong.
Obviously, I wouldn't be right for me to speculate on ongoing cases.
But do you think he's going to fire his Home Secretary for actively and publicly seeking to pervert the course of justice? I don't think so. Not given his track record with her. And this is supposedly from the party of law and order. As I said, the hypocrisy is off the charts. I'm Femi. This has been F Politics, so politics doesn't F you. Have a great week.